Well, my earliest influences were my dad and my uncle because I was playing with them and learning their music, and then even their music I got influenced by their music they were playing, which is like a lot of the 50s and 60s. So I got into that, and then years later when I got into guitar, Stevie Ray Vaughan had just passed away, and then I got into his music, and then I really got into the people that he was influenced by, Albert King, Albert Collins, Freddie King, and just a long list of other great blues guitarists and musicians that he was influenced by. And then after that, I got into jazz. I got into Joe Beam's music, the bossa nova jazz, and then even different styles of jazz, bebop, fusion, some experimental stuff. And then I got influenced by guitarists like Jimmy Bruno, Robert Conti, and guitarists of that nature. And then also, even more recently, I'm influenced by people like Scott Henderson, Sid Jacobs, and then even Jamie Findley, the fingerstyle master guitarist. And I'm influenced by these three guys of late because I studied with them when I went to GIT in a Musicians Institute in California. And then I'm also, of course, growing up in Hawaii, I'm also influenced by my culture and Hawaiian music that I play. Recording in a studio can be very nerve-wracking because the microphone hears everything, right? So it hears your chair rattling, hears the tubes rattling. If you're stepping on stomp boxes, hears that, katok, katok, hears that. And then, there's also the pressure from your clients because, if you're showing your clients, okay, I can do it like this, you like it like this, how's this groove, and so forth. There's pressure from them because they're watching the clock too. And then I think in the studio, one of the big things for me, as a producer and a player, is that it's pitch and time. So if you take time, there's many ways to interpret the groove that you're playing, right? You can play right on the beat, like a drum machine, just solid, and try to just feel that pulse. You can play in the back of the beat, give it a more, laid back feel, or you can play in the front of the beat to like maybe push it a little bit. So you're giving your client, all these different options, how you like that feel, what do you think that, and so forth. And then there's also the pitch factor. I mean, vocals, as a producer, I like vocals to be in pitch. I like harmonies to be in pitch for the most part. So there's that factor. If you're bending and stuff on the guitar, you'd want to make your bends in pitch. So those are, to me, like some of the key elements, that I can think of now that I would be looking at. And then as far as playing live is a whole other animal because the thing about playing live is that that's it. There's only one time you're going to go through the song, right? You cannot really stop. Like in the studio, you can stop. So that's the thing about live is that, you'd want to kind of be rehearsed more or less or have some ideas in your head before that you've worked on and stuff. And there's also the factor of, there's people out there, live people, right? In the audience, they're, yelling and screaming. Sometimes not good things, but they're, there's that element too that you don't have in the studio. The studio, it's usually just a few people and so forth. But when you play live, there's everybody's out there. If somebody's yelling, somebody's talking to you, so you're trying to figure out what they want, or there's just so many things, So they both have their challenges. I think they go hand in hand though, because in the studio, it has made me really a better musician. I mean, the thing about the studio is that it'll spit you out and send you home crying because it will reveal, your musicianship. It really will, So you can either take it or you can, just go off and say, oh man, I'm, dying here. Yeah, so my main guitar that I play is this one right here. This is a Carvin AE 185. They make them out in San Diego. And this one has two humbucker pickups and then also has a piezo pickup in the bridge for acoustic tones. Neck through design. And I also have a backup one like this. And then I also have a Carvin Stratocaster for Strat tones. And the great thing I love about this guitar is that it has really stood up to a road test. This one particularly right here, this one has a little over 1,000 gigs already. In about 10 years, I put on about 1,000 gigs on this one alone. And it has really stood up to different weather conditions. I flew with it all over the place. and different humidities. And for you guys that fly and have acoustic instruments, you guys would know what I'm talking about. This instrument has really held up very well. Plays beautifully. I always get compliments on the tone from this one, and I really dig this guitar. And then as far as amplifiers, my main amp that I play through is a Mesa Boogie Nomad 55. It's a 3-channel 6L6 based amp, and I can get some really sweet tube tones out of that one. And nowadays I like to play through smaller wattage amps, maybe 50 watts or less. I like a good super reverb, or like a nice deluxe reverb or something of that nature is really cool. Now that when we fly out and stuff, or at concerts, usually the promoters or the sound companies provide amps, and they'll provide something like a Fender Twin, Marshall half stack, or even like a JC 120 and so forth. And then in my pedals, the first one in the chain is an analog bicomp, which is 2 compressors in one, and you can kind of choose which one you want. There's an orange squeezer, and then also a Ross compressor next to that. And then right after that is my go-to pedal that I cannot live without. It's an RC booster made by Exotic Effects, and I have this one on all the time. And the thing about this one is that the way I use it is that if I'm playing through an amp that is stereo sounding, like maybe a JC 120, this pedal saves the day, because the way I have it set up, I put a little bit of grit on it, and I make it feel spongy for me. Almost like really like on tube amp, how it can, just kind of gives and take a little bit. And it really helps to give me what I need from them. I really like this one. And then next in the chain from that is an BB preamp, which is also made by Exotic Effects. I have that one set a little bit, just a little bit grind, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. And next to that one is another BB preamp that I use, and I have it set a little bit more aggressive. And then next to that one, I have another distortion pedal that I made, which kind of mimics early Van Halen's brown sounds, somewhat. And then in the effects loop of the amp, I have my delay pedal, which is an Eventide time factor. Next to that, an old Boss CE2 chorus. It's from the 80s. It's been around all over the place with me. And then next to that one, I have also from Exotic Effects it's an arpeggiator, a Robotalk, which is one of the more first models that they made that I use. And then sometimes also in the effects loop, I like to have a Univibe clone or something of that sort. So here's a clean tone from the guitar, a little bit of delay in the signal. A little bit of clean tone from that one. Then here's my first BB preamp. That one. And then here's the second BB preamp. A little bit more aggressive, huh? That one. And then here's my overdrive that I made. It's a more brown sounding one. A lot more gain, huh?